On the set of a new period drama, the scene was a makeshift wooden bridge over an artificial stream. The scene required Sam to stand at the head of the bridge, while Caitriona walked up to talk in an emotional state. Everything seemed simple until the moment no one could have predicted. The director shouted, "Action!" Caitriona walked step by step on the bridge, her long skirt gently swaying in the wind. Sam watched her with a fully engaged gaze, until a slight cracking sound rang out under the bridge. At first everyone thought it was the sound of props. But just a moment later, a piece of the plank collapsed, causing Caitriona to lose her balance, her body leaning heavily towards the edge of the bridge. No one had time to react, except Sam. He rushed forward instinctively, without waiting for a signal, without caring about the camera or the dialogue. His arm grabbed her waist with such force that Caitriona could only hear his breath right next to her ear. Her feet slipped off the wood, her skirt caught, but Sam held on so tightly that they both stopped in a close position, her upper body almost falling into his chest. The crew stood still for a few seconds, unsure if it was super acting or what had just happened. Caitriona breathed heavily, feeling Sam's heart beating abnormally fast. He didn't let go right away. Their eyes met in a strange silence, no act, no camera, just the two of them and their confused breathing. "You were just going to fly into the stream?" Sam said softly, her voice low but tinged with panic. "That wasn't the plan," she replied, trying to smile but her hand still unconsciously holding his hand at her waist. A crew member ran over to check. The director rushed over in a panic, but all was stopped by the sight before them. Sam still hadn't let go. That squeeze wasn't perfunctory, it was too instinctive, too real. A lighting staff at the set corner tested the camera during the waiting time for the previous scene, and accidentally recorded that moment. No dialogue, no music, only the eyes, breathing, and the rescue arm that was not in the script. The rumors started from within the film crew. Some said they were too into it. Others whispered that Sam rushed in too quickly as if he had been waiting to protect her. Some were even sure that after everyone dispersed, the two of them still stood and talked privately for a long time behind the scenes. No one was allowed to get close. That night, an 11-second clip appeared in the crew's internal chat group and somehow spread out. Although the angle of the camera did not clearly show the face, the arm, the figure, the hair, the curve of the dress, and the way Sam held her close to him were unmistakable. After watching, the online community had only one question left. Was that acting, or a real reaction? And the most interesting thing is, neither of them has denied it. And that scene? The director kept it, graded it, and called it a random gift from fate. The 11-second clip began to spread beyond the internal circle in a way that no one could control. It started as a discreet message shared among a few people on the set, but then somehow appeared in an international fan group specializing in behind-the-scenes moments. Although the face was blurred, the body, the posture, the way Sam rushed forward, wrapped his arms around Caitriona, and the moment she almost fell into his chest were all too recognizable. Within hours, the video was shortened, zoomed in, slow-mo, and subtitled. Hashtags began to appear on social media. Hashtag real or acting. Hashtag cut off script. Hashtag Sam and Cait. Fans were divided. Some believed it was real instinct. Others thought it was just reflex acting. But what caught everyone's attention most was the moment Sam held her waist longer than necessary, their breaths close enough to be seen in the frame. A tabloid published an article that night, "The unscripted moment, an accident or a hidden intimacy?" The management companies of both remained silent, the film crew did not make any statement, and the director only said briefly, "That scene was not in the plan, but we kept it because it was so unexpectedly beautiful." On the set the next day, the atmosphere changed dramatically even though no one said anything. Some staff members whispered to each other as the two passed by. A few curious eyes secretly followed their every move. Caitriona walked into the makeup room calmly, but in her heart she kept replaying the moment Sam held her. The feeling of warmth, the firm hand, the way he bowed his head and leaned close without saying a word, all of it haunted her more strangely than any romantic scene she had ever filmed. Sam sat in a corner reviewing the script, but her fingers unconsciously touched the slight scratch on her wrist from when he rushed to save her and got caught on a wooden beam. He had intended to hide it, but a female costumer still saw it and asked quietly, "Are you okay?" Sam just smiled faintly, but her eyes unconsciously glanced towards the door she had just passed through. In the middle of the afternoon, the crew was preparing to film an interior scene in the wooden house. When everyone took a break, Caitriona walked into the prop room behind the stage to find a scarf. The door was unlocked, yellow light coming from the crack in the roof. She bent down to rummage through the box when she heard footsteps coming in. Before she could turn around, she heard Sam's voice lower and deeper than usual. "Yesterday, were you hurt?" She paused slightly, slowly stood up, but did not turn around immediately. "No, just a little surprise." Sam took a step forward, standing very close behind her, just enough for his breath to reflect on the space between them. "I couldn't sleep because I was afraid I would hold my hand too tightly." Caitriona smiled softly and turned back, her eyes meeting his within a few inches of each other. "If you hadn't rushed in, I might have been in the hospital today instead of here." The sentence seemed light, but the echo made the air thick. For a long second, it seemed like no sound could penetrate, until a small sound came from the crack in the door. They didn't know that a young production assistant had just happened to pass by, heard the conversation, and opened the door to ask about the props. But instead of saying anything, she froze when she caught sight of Sam standing so close that if she tilted her head, their lips could touch. Caitriona's hand was placed on the box next to her, and Sam lightly propped his hand on the wall behind her, unintentionally creating an all-encompassing pose that anyone who saw it would immediately misunderstand, or misunderstand more than necessary. The assistant didn't dare stay long, backing away very quietly, but his heart was pounding. 2 hours later, an anonymous message was sent to a website specializing in digging up behind-the-scenes gossip. That clip isn't all. They were just alone in the prop room. The distance was only a few inches. When the next scene started, Caitriona stepped out first, followed by Sam. The only difference was that this time there were 3 or 4 eyes fixed on them as they stood next to each other. The director shouted, "Act," and they got into character as usual, but when it came to the part where Sam had to hold Caitriona's hand and pull her back, her reaction was a little slow and Sam also squeezed her hand more firmly than usual. The camera was still running, no one spoke, but a few witnesses glanced at each other. Outside the studio, new headlines kept appearing. Just an accident or a sign of affection? New images after the clip raised suspicions? They were silent, but their gestures don't lie. The media started sending emails asking for behind-the-scenes interviews. The crew's official fan page suddenly increased its number of followers. A photo taken from afar, Sam standing next to Caitriona in the prop room in the afternoon, appeared online with the caption, "The door was only 10 centimeters open, but intimate enough to see." Although blurred and tilted, their silhouettes pressed against each other were still visible in the yellow light inside. No one knew who took the photo, and no one understood why the image appeared at the same time as the old clip was spreading like wildfire. Late at night, in the private car returning to the hotel, Caitriona leaned her head back and looked out the window without saying a word. Sam sat in the other seat, his phone in his hand filled with notifications. He looked at it for a while, then locked the screen, leaned over and asked softly, "Are you okay?" She didn't answer right away, just turned to look at him in the darkness of the car, where the streetlights reflected on both of their faces with each step. "What about you?" Sam didn't move, just kept his gaze straight into her eyes. A silence longer than any explanation. That night, neither of them offered to respond. Neither of them denied it. And it was that silence that made everything flare up outside, as if it had only just begun.